See him a beast when he hear that sound like yeah, beat on the beat when he hear that sound like woo. Yeah, bitch on the champ, only me one round like yeah, me, I'm a G-Ring.
Co-main event fighter, UFC 282, the man that is going to end the Paddy the Baddy hype train, Mr. Jared Flash Gordon. Jared, my man, thank you so much. Happy fight week. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Of course, dude. I'm doing pretty well. Just glad to be talking to you. I mean, my highest profile guest to date, so to speak, co-main event of a big pay-per-view, 282 going up against Paddy the Baddy. How does that feel, dude? Co-main event. I know you got the news a couple weeks ago. You hype?
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely excited, and a lot hasn't changed except maybe for more like media, obligations and co-main instead of third to last fight on the card because that's what we were originally slated for. But yeah, man, more eyes, I guess. I mean, there was already a lot of eyes on the fight, but I'm grateful and I'm excited.
And I mean, hey, man, I'm always watching your fights. I've been a fan for a pretty long time now. So when I heard that you got bumped up to the co-main, I was even more excited. So, just that bump up to the co-main, Paddy, obviously a very high profile opponent, sold out T-Mobile Arena, UFC 282, last pay-per-view of the year. All that hype, all that excitement, so to speak, does that add anything for you, or is it just business as usual?
It's business as usual, and I have to keep it that way because there's no point of making it bigger than it has to be or putting it on a pedestal. As far as fighting goes, it's just another fight that I have to just go in there and do what I do and win. And, if I make it something bigger than it is, then it's just like, why add extra pressure and make it harder on yourself? You want to I feel like it just makes it harder on you when you look at things that way for anything in life. It doesn't have to just be fighting, anything that you put on a pedestal. Now you're setting standards for yourself and it doesn't work well.
Totally, man. Some people, for whatever reason, love that pressure. Me, no, man. If putting all that mental strain on myself would not do me any good. So I totally understand what you're saying there. And I mean, dude, you've been in the UFC for a long time. You're a very experienced fighter. You've fought in front of full crowds. You fought in front of, you fought at the Apex before too, correct?
Yeah, 3 times I think I fought there. Yeah.
I was just making sure. So you fought in front of full crowds and empty arenas. Which do you prefer? Do you have a preference?
I fought in Flat Island. I fought in the
Yeah.
Apex, the arena. I'd rather fight in front of people. Not that it does anything more for me, but it's just, it's just better.
It's part of the sport. Yeah.
When you're fighting, you kind of don't really hear anything anyways. You're very present with what you're doing. So, but it's just, it makes it more exciting, more fun. And, who wants to be in a freaking empty arena?
Yeah. Some people like that, man. Some people are like, I like that I can hear my coaches and they prefer that.
Yeah. I mean, I did experience that. You hear your coaches better. I guess maybe you could be a little more focused because there's not roars of crowds, but fight's a fight, man.
Yeah, man, 100%. For this big fight coming up, where did you spend most of your training camp? Because I know you're usually at Renzo Gracie in New York, correct?
No, I haven't been at Henzo's in years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was at Henzo's. I left in 2018 or 19.
Because I saw you popped in there in September for a few days.
Yeah, I was there just training. I was up, my family's from New York, so I was up seeing family, and my wife's family's up there, so we were up there, and I popped in to train. But no, I haven't trained full time there in 4-5-ish years.
Where's your main spot?
I was in Rufus Sport for a year and a half, but now I'm at Killcliff for the last 3 years straight. I've been at,
Yeah.
it was Sanford, now Killcliff. So I'm down in South Florida.
And I mean, I saw you were also training with like Bilal and some of those Dagestani guys. How was that?
Well, that was awesome, man. Bilal I met at Rufus Sport.
Right.
We were roommates for the whole time that I lived there, and then we both left Rufus Sport. He went his way, I went my way. But we're like really really close friends. So he asked me to come out and help him, and I went out there and it was awesome, man. I got to train with Islam and their team, and I didn't get to train with Khabib because he was kind of in and out of the gym, but he was coaching a
Sure.
lot also. So I was just I got to meet Khabib though. I spoke to him a bunch, and different level of. It's not a different. It's nothing I've never seen before, but they train in their own kind of specific way,
Sure.
um, very regimented, and that was a great experience, man. I enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah, man, I can only imagine, I mean, just the names you mentioned right there, Bilal, Islam, Khabib, some of the best
Mhm.
in the world, especially the wrestling. Like, was there wrestling? You said you've experienced it before, but is that Dagestani wrestling actually that crazy?
It's a different style, but yeah, they're really good at what they do. I wouldn't say that they're the best pure wrestlers, you know, but for MMA, their style works very, very well because it's like sambo, and they're really good off the cage, or taking guys down off the cage in the clinch. Um, but yeah, it was an amazing experience. I have utmost respect for those guys, and um, I think in the near future I'll be training with them again. Soon
Love it, man.
after I beat Paddy.
Knocking that Paddy boy out. We'll talk about Paddy in a couple minutes here. Just talking about training still, just for the people who don't know, members of different gyms, like some others do, how closely they follow the sport. Who are some of your training partners? Who are your like coaches? Who do you mainly work with on a day-to-day basis?
So I'm at Killcliff. So Henry Hoof, head coach, Jason Stroud, Greg Jones, are Jason Stroud has been with me since like the beginning of my career.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the head corner in my fight and has been in most of my fights. Hoof is just the head coach at Killcliff. So Jason is one of the coaches there. Greg Jones, wrestling coach. Kami Barzini was there. He's no longer there, but he was one of my main wrestling coaches, cornered me. But man, I'm training wise, I've been it's like an endless list of guys, man. Gilbert Burns, Herbert Burns, Adam Borick was, before he had knee surgery, was one of my main training partners. There's so many guys, dude, at our gym. It's like an endless, Kevin Lee's there. Michael Chandler's there. I can't just
A
keeps going.
killer
Robbie
gym.
Lawler's there. Yeah. I don't train with Robbie that much because, he's bigger than me. Jason Jackson, Logan Storley, just a list of killers, man. And there's so many more. I was sparring with Evan Elder, who's, he only has one UFC fight, but he's a savage kid. He's young. He's super athletic, strong. Good striker. He took his debut at 170. He's a 55er. He fought a 170 pounder, went to decision. It was a crazy fight. But there's tons of guys, man, that I train with constantly. We have a bunch of, a couple of Dagestanis are there now. Training with them, training with. There's always people coming through. So it's like never end. I can't even. There's so many other guys that I'm missing.
I mean, easily one of the best gyms in the world, one of the most reputable in MMA, certainly. Who's going to be in your corner?
Jason Stroud, Greg Jones, and Bilal Muhammad. It was
And
supposed to be. It was supposed to be Henry, but he went to Singapore and he stayed in Thailand with his wife, who's from Thailand. Anthony Johnson had passed away recently, and he wanted to just take some time. So I was like, all right, you got to get. That's more important, I think, than a fight. So get your mental health in check. So Bilal was gonna come help me anyways fight week. So I was just like, hey, you're cornering me now. So
That's awesome, man. Yeah, rest in peace, Anthony Johnson. Very sad, but glad to hear Bilal is going to be coming to help out. Obviously, I don't need to say it. Fighting Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, UFC 282. Let me just get your thoughts on him as an opponent. There's so much to say. Obviously, he's been all over the freaking sport in everybody's face, but how do you feel about him?
I like him, man.
He's good for the sport,
I like him. I think he's character and but as for fighting him, I think I'm better everywhere. He's unpredictable. He goes for it. He can get wild at times. So he still can be dangerous. But I think that I have more tools, and I think I know I have more tools. I know I'm more well-rounded and more polished, and I have more experience. I've fought. My level of competition is way higher than his level of competition by far, by far. And like he's been gifted some fights, man. If you watch his Cage Warrior fights, he's been gifted some of those fights. He's lost to some guys that are now in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
And but he's still dangerous. I'm not underestimating him. I'm not looking past him. I'm as ready as I've ever been for any fight. I'm the best version of myself that I've ever been, and I'm going to win on Saturday night.
So how did this fight even come about? Because, just being on Twitter, I see constantly fighters tweeting at Paddy being like, yo, dude, I'll fight you. I'll fight you. I'll fight you. And then Paddy's like, nobody will fight me, blah, blah, blah. So how did you become the guy that's going to take him out?
Well, it came about years ago when I fought his teammate, Chris Fishgold. And I beat his teammate. And before Paddy even made his UFC debut, like when he got signed to UFC, they were asking him, "Who do you want to fight?" And I was one of the names he threw out there because he wanted to get that win back for his team.
Sure.
And he named me. He named like my teammate Herbert Burns, and he named a couple other guys. And then so I was like, okay. And then, obviously he had 3 fights where he didn't fight me. I guess they wanted to see where he was at first. At that point, I already had like probably 8 or 9 UFC fights.
Yeah.
So to put him in, it doesn't make sense at all. A UFC debut got to fight a guy with 9 fights.
Oh, you would have absolutely smashed him in his debut. Unbiasedly, I think you're going to win this fight too. But yeah, you're 100% not the kind of guy to feed for your UFC debut to Jared Flash Gordon.
Yeah. So, 3 fights later, here we are. And, we've been calling each other out, since I fought Selecki, and then I fought Grant. I lost that fight, so I didn't really have much say. But then after he won his last fight, he was like, oh, Jared, I was scheduled to fight Leo Santos. If Jared beats Leo Santos, I want to fight him. So finally, it's come together, and it's perfect timing, man. Here we are, co-main event. If I fought him on his debut, it would have been like on the prelim or probably like the featured bout of a prelim card.
Right.
So now we're the co-main event on a pay-per-view. So
best case scenario, it sounds like. Have you heard from him at all since the fight's been announced? Has he reached out to talk any sort of shit?
No.
No. Okay. I was just wondering because he's loud.
He's been respectful, from what I hear. I don't really stare at Instagram and Twitter recently, and I don't really like scrolling too much. So I'm not like in the I don't really know what's going on, but
right.
I heard like, oh, I'm gonna beat him in the first round or knock him out in the first round, which is what everyone says. Yeah. He's not the first guy to tell me he's gonna knock me out, and then I go and crush them. So, but no, he's been respectful, and I watched the countdown, and he was like, I respect Jared. He's come back from, from hell, and he's a great example of what you can do. So No, he's been nothing but respectful so far, and we'll see what happens at the press conference.
Sure.
But which I'm expecting, a lot of talk, but that's fine, man, because this is the game, bro, and I've been preparing myself for this, and it's not the first time someone's talked shit to me since
Right.
since I've been, fighting. People have been talking shit, so that's fine. That's
Yeah,
what we do. People talk shit in the streets. We fight in the street. People talk shit in real fighting when we fight. It's how it's like my whole life.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's exactly how you said. It's part of the game. I'm glad to hear that he is treating you respectfully. I think that would be a wise decision on his part. Anyways, I wouldn't want to anger you as a dog. Now, I'm not sure if you're a gambling man or not, but that point aside, right now you're looking at like a plus 160 underdog going up against him as like a minus 200 favorite. I don't I don't understand those odds at all. Do you have any thoughts on that, or do you put any weight on that value?
Dude, people are betting on him, and that's it's a bunch of hype that people
Hype.
are betting on. So Bilal Muhammad was a big dog against Sean Brady.
Yep.
So it's like, how many fights I've been the underdog in, and I go and crush the guy.
A lot, bro. I've cashed on a lot of them.
I don't give a shit, dude. It's like, it doesn't make sense. I've been a favorite in fights and lost. So you can say this, you can say that. Fight's a fight, bro. And I have these. I would say 90% of these people don't know what they're talking about, anyways,
Oh, sure.
or what they're looking at. So
Yeah, I think pretty much most MMA fights are 50-50. It's a fist fight. Anything can happen. So I don't put too much weight and value on odds either. Now, I'm sure I kind of know your answer for this. A lot of people are like, nah, I don't really do that. But without giving anything away, without even saying it blatantly a prediction, do you have any idea how this fight's going to go down? Like, what do you see happening?
yeah, I see the first round being like action packed, and then I drown him.
That's a
And
pretty common theme for your fights too.
I'm gonna bring him to see, like, you watch a fight and you're like, oh, but when you're in there, it's a completely different feeling. What I'm doing, it's a suffocating, drowning, like I want to get out of here type of feeling, and that's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna bring him to a place that he's never felt, and that he'll never ever want to go back to.
Love it, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely cannot wait. Sorry, go ahead.
no, that's it.
That's it. Paddy's going
Yeah.
to be drowning. Looking
He's in the
forward to
deep.
it, man.
He's in the deep end of the pool now.
So it's something I do appreciate a lot and find interesting about both of you as opponents is you both put a lot of value on mental health, obviously. I guess, and I also saw in a past interview, you kind of want to focus and center and put a lot of attention on mental health going into this fight. So, I mean, you speak so much on your past and being a recovering addict, and I don't need to get into all that. I'm sure you're, a little bit sick of it. You do it every freaking podcast you're on, but I do just want to ask, man, a little bit about this mental health thing, because I am a big advocate for it too. So I just want to give you a chance to kind of talk about that and your viewpoint and the importance of it going into this fight.
I mean, I see people die every day, bro. Kids that I know that are suffering with addiction or have killed themselves. My best friend took his life. Uh, on December 16th, it'll be 2 years. I have to think about that every day. I literally think about it every. He's on my home screen on my laptop, and he was a pro fighter, family man, owned a business, killed himself. Um, I've lost multiple friends from overdoses or, you know, getting killed or going to jail. And like, it was a major part of my life. So I realized that I was put here to help people. Someone helped me. So now it's my duty for the rest of my life to help other people. And I happen to be good at fighting. and I have a platform, so I'm trying to get as popular as I can so I can help as many people as possible. And that's the bottom line. It has nothing to do with, yeah, I make a living fighting, obviously, and I need to continue to make a living, so I'm going to continue to fight, and I want to have nice things and support myself and my wife, and our dogs and stuff, and
Sure.
pay our bills. But it's more than that. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than Paddy. It's bigger than the UFC. It's bigger than any fight ever. So I think that my purpose is what's going to drive me to be, the best athlete that I can be, and get to the accomplish the goals that I want to accomplish. And that's it.
Did you get a chance to see his Paddy's last fight, his post fight interview in the octagon?
Yeah, I saw some of it.
Just he was putting an importance on mental health too, and it kind of reminded me of a lot of what you're saying.
I know, but I wanted to do something, collaborate, and at the same time fight each other. Nothing has come of it, unfortunately. But we'll see. Maybe something in the future will happen.
Well, at the very least, you got two guys in the co-main event of a sold-out pay-per-view, putting and highlighting an importance on mental health. So at the very least, man, that's doing a big thing in itself. And a lot of eyes and ears are going to get the message that you two are both trying to put out. So that's great in itself. So Jared, if you're able to at all and look past this fight, as I said, man, 11 fights in the UFC, 29-5 as a professional fighter, a very experienced veteran with a lot of success in your career.
19-5.
Did I type that in wrong? Yeah, I did type that in. Well, maybe someday it'll be 29-5, but 19-5, 11 fights in the UFC. What other goals do you have in your career, man? Is there anybody else you want to fight that you haven't? Is there anything else that you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished?
I mean, yeah, the goal I would I want to get into top 15 and then fight from there, and then hopefully get to top 10 and top 5, become champion just like every other guy. And I think this is the start of me making a run at that. I have a couple of years left, I guess, maybe 4 years left in this sport. Who knows? Maybe I'm 38 and I'm still healthy and making money, then maybe I'll fight longer. But I have friends that are in the gym. Look, Gilbert Burns, Chandler, they're older than me, 2 or 3 years older than me. And look where they are. So why can't I do the same? They're top 10, top 5, whatever.
Sure.
So it's it's very close. I'm very close to that realm. And that's what I'm going to do. That's what I want to do. But at the same time, keep doing what I do by helping people.
And I mean, if you look at Glover Teixeira, 42 years old, UFC champion. Last night, man, you see Stephen Wonderboy Thompson put a piece on Kevin Holland.
Crazy.
Insane. He's 40 years old.
He looked ridiculous.
Yeah, that was an insane fight. He threw it back about 10 years, man. It was awesome.
Dude, he was trying to kill him.
Yeah, he was. I literally haven't seen Stephen Thompson fight like that in a long time.
He looked good.
Yeah, man, that was an awesome fight. But yeah, dude, totally think top 10, top 5. I'm nobody, man, but championship. I mean, dude, you're not an old guy, man. Anything's still possible, and it's all realistic. And like you said, getting a big dub over Paddy the Baddy Pimblett is a great way to start that off.
Yeah.
So Jared, again, thank you for joining me, man. We've been talking fights for about 20 minutes now. I'm sure you've been talking this fight for weeks on end, in and out. So let's just take a break for that for a second. Aside from Jared the fighter, even aside from Jared the mental health advocate, let me just ask you about Jared the person. When you're not in the cage training, when you're not, focusing on helping others, so to speak, if that is ever a time in your life, what do you find yourself doing? Do you have any, I don't know, for lack of better terms, normal people, interests or hobbies, boring stuff, just fun stuff that makes you Jared Gordon?
I like eating.
Every fighter likes eating, bro.
I like watching. I'm like a mafia buff.
Oh, yeah.
Love mob stuff. Every movie, show, documentaries. Love that stuff. I love like I don't know why I'm like really intrigued by like crime uh stories. Like I said, mob stuff, like
Yeah.
cartel stuff. Uh, I watch a lot of stuff about like history stuff. Um, but I read a lot. Been reading a lot. I don't really do much else besides work out and do AA and help people get sober. It takes a lot of my time, training and doing all that stuff. So
Sure.
I do a lot of self help stuff, man. Constantly doing meetings, groups, and meeting with people, in like a group setting, and just trying to stay mentally fit.
Yeah.
Most of my friends are sober. My brother's sober. Everyone I know is in recovery, so um, it's like really easy for me to take up my time with that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, my
That's
my dad was a recovering alcoholic growing up, so 100% get that game, man, and get that
the
recovery
beach.
life.
The beach. Love the beach. I live in
Yeah.
Florida. Always at the beach, or yeah.
So what's your
So,
favorite like mob movie or mob TV show?
oof. My favorite TV show is The Sopranos.
Obviously, yeah.
Movie though, man, there's so many good ones, dude. I mean, it's so hard. Like, how do I pick between Goodfellas and Casino and Donnie Brasco or The Godfather or any? There's so many movies.
Yeah.
They're all so good.
The
Irish,
genre as a whole,
The
that's my
Offer.
favorite.
Have you seen The Offer?
The Offer, no.
It's on Paramount Plus or whatever it's called.
Is it a newer one?
Brand new. It's about the making of The Godfather.
Oh, okay. No, I know what that is. I just haven't seen it yet.
Dude, the story is incredible. They were trying to kill the guy that was trying to make The Godfather, like the mob.
Oh man.
So much went into it, and no one, you don't hear about the shit.
So
But
The Godfather, real
huge
quick.
mob.
The Godfather was made by Francis Ford Coppola, right? He also directed Apocalypse Now. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Dude, so I'm only bringing this up because you just mentioned the documentary about or the movie about the making of The Godfather. You got to check out the movie about the making of Apocalypse Now, dude. Freaking
Oh yeah.
crazy. It's called Into the Heart of Darkness or something like that. But dude, making that movie, nuts. I'm going to check out that Godfather one. But if you get a chance, man, Into the Heart of Darkness, check that one out.
All right. I will.
Great movie. But Jared, before we get out of here, man, I just want to give you the opportunity. Obviously, tons of eyes on you next couple weeks, or I guess just this week coming into the fight, UFC 282. You already have fans, supporters, family, and friends. I'm sure you even got some stupid haters out there. So I just want to give you the opportunity. Is there anything you'd like to say to everybody? The mic is yours.
No, just be tuned in Saturday night and watch me kick this kid's ass, get this W, and that's it.
Love it, man. And I'll link all your social media stuff below. If you people aren't following Jared yet for whatever reason, go follow him. And like the man just said, tune in December 10th on pay-per-view. Jared Gordon's going to knock out or submit or finish or at least beat Paddy Pimblett. And I can't freaking wait. So Jared Flash Gordon, thank you so much, dude. And when I say this, I sincerely mean this. Kick ass. End that hype train, brother.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Of course.